Board meeting for January 2023. So first item on our agenda this evening is to approve the minutes from the November 2022 meeting, as we did not have one in December. So any discussion, comments, questions about the minutes from November?
Sir.
All right, hearing none, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, second item is the staff report from the wall sign applications approved since our last meeting. Looks like it's about 5 of them.
As you said, we had 5, two of which are the Fairfield Inn out there north of the interstate. We have 2 wall signs. One was on the south face, and one was on the west face. And one was on the side that faced Snyder Road, and one on North Campbell. So it's number 1 and 2 there on the site plan. And is one of them. It's what was there before is on the left. What was approved is on the right on the image. And then here's the other elevation. And again, the existing is on the left, the new signage is on the right. They're just essentially rebranding.
Okay.
Then we had Sleep In, which is over off Campbell Lakes. It's the hotel changed. I think it changed hand. It's being totally redone. But it's here it is in the daytime look. There's a nighttime look. It's kind of nice when they give us a nighttime look. There's going to be a little bit of what they call contour lighting up there in the above the sign in that little architectural feature. There's like a recessed purple light that will be shining up onto that elevated roof line, but it's not really part of the signage, but it is something we looked at. That's just the schematics on the sign. So I think that's going to be a good look out there. It's going to be a big improvement for that. The next one is for Southland Dental. This is a very small wall sign, actually being mounted right next to a door. They had originally turned it in with, it was sort of the reverse. It was dark letters on a white background. It didn't really match the sign elsewhere on the building. So that's where it's going, because there's really no place else for them to put it on that building. So it's more of a, really more of a door entrance type sign. But and here it is on the building. So you can see over there on the left-hand side of the building on the lower image. The other business also has a door, like a wall sign next to the doorway there, but it's very small. But they can obviously increase the size if they want to. And then there's Maurice's, which is out on Parkside, and it's a pretty simple sign. That's it for the wall sign permits. Does anyone have any questions on any of those or anything? So, I think Holly had provided a write-up on some of the issues that came up with those during the review and getting those permitted. There were a few hiccups, but nothing major. It sort of gives you a sense of, the type of things that we deal with when the wall signs come in. We typically get them, and we have to ask for corrections or changes or that sort of thing. But
Okay. All right, so we'll move down to ground-mounted sign applications. So the first one is Farragut Christian Church, located at 138 Admiral Road. So.
okay, they are changing out their sign that's on an existing stone monument structure. The way we deal with signs like this is we treat them almost like a wall sign. So it's sort of like putting a channel letter sign on a wall because of the size of the monument and the way the sign is mounted to it. So we measure it the same as we would a wall sign, which is we just sort of draw an imaginary box around all the sign elements for the area. It's well within, guidelines for the, for the size of the signage out there, and really they're mounting to an existing structure. In my write-up, I had asked for a few things. They submitted some additional materials late on Friday. They addressed some of those issues, but I still need some dimensions on the site plan, and I need the species of the landscaping spelled out on the landscape plan, but those are pretty minor. There's no lighting on that sign, as I understand it, right?
There are two
There
lights
is.
as well. I couldn't confirm whether there is a work or not because I wasn't measuring.
Okay, so we need to verify that too, but, those are pretty minor. So I have a site plan and I have a landscape plan, I just need some additional information put on them.
It sounds like the three subject twos you had in our packet still exist
They
in some.
still exist,
Yeah.
just not as much of them.
Right.
I do have site information now, I just don't have a dimension, although the sign is set back so far from the street, there's not really a setback issue. And I may have an old site plan, that has dimensions on it that I could add to the permit file, I'll check that. And the species, maybe your landscaper or somebody can just, let you know what those things are. But, all of the landscaping is in place. Really what we're trying to do is document what's there so that if something dies or something's removed down the line, we can account for that and make sure that, the right things get put back, or at least something comparable gets put back. So, subject to those additions being made, staff can recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions or comments? It looks very legible and like it meets the criteria. So we have a motion.
Motion to approve with the provisions that Bart listed, the three provisions.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on down to the second item, which is Farragut Golf and Games located at 164 West End Avenue.
This is a sign that we actually looked at months and months ago. And there were some legal issues we had to deal with this. We had to talk to the town attorney about it as well. It's a pre-existing sign. It's in an odd location. The property the golf course is on is actually completely landlocked. It's only accessible via easements and legal agreements through the West End Center and Tommy Van's property, or portion of the West End Center. So they have two signs out there now. One is along the easement road that leads in, and then this is right at the entrance, somewhat downhill from the main parking lot area. Our regulations allow for the height of a sign to be increased when it's downgrade from the road, and what we opt to do here is, because of the way the lot sits and the pre-existing easements and legal agreement, is to treat the parking lot for the West End Center as the road elevation, and then let them elevate up to that. So this is what they're proposing. It's quite a bit smaller than the existing sign out there. There are a couple of changes that need to be made here to bring it into compliance, but it's a vast improvement on what they originally submitted and what's out there now. Our regulations don't allow for any part of the poles to be visible. They have to be screened by the base essentially, or be brought down to the ground. So the use of the The landscaping for that purpose isn't permissible because the landscaping could die and it's not permanent. So they're gonna do some combination of adding a couple of courses of brick and maybe just extending the sign face down to make it flush. So they're aware that they have to make that change. And then they need to have a minimum of 50 square feet of landscaping around the sign. They don't there because of the, that planter box just, doesn't add up to that. So they're gonna have to come back. That base is actually gonna be built on top of the concrete pad that's already out there. And so I've suggested to them that they landscape around that concrete pad. So it'll help screen that too. Subject to those two changes being made, staff can recommend approval of this. You can see here, relative to what's out there now, the way the sign will be. They've got it sort of superimposed in there. It is a total of 129 inches tall, so it's quite tall, but the sign that's out there is very large. So and that red line you can see there running across the sign is basically the parking lot elevation. So they're allowed to come up to there, and then the additional elevation above that as if it was built at grade out there on the street. So it'll be quite a bit smaller sign than what's out there now. They've also got new wall signs on the actual facility too that match this. So again, subject to them adding some additional landscaping to meet the code, and just doing a better job of screening those two support poles. Staff can recommend approval of it.
I know the circumstances around this sign are unusual and they're landlocked. Is there still a requirement, though, for the street number to be on top of the sign? I see it's a small one there on the top, so.
We thought it would be good to have it on there because you can't really see it on the building.
Mhm.
We didn't have them put it on the smaller entranceway sign that runs along the roadway there, but we thought there at the entrance to the building, it would be good to have it on it, so we asked them to put it up there.
Okay. So they put it on there, but they put it on within the body of the sign. It doesn't look like it's as tall as we usually see, but I don't know.
I'm gonna double check to them, or double check with them that the lettering is at least 8 inches tall, But again, that's a fairly large sign. It looks
Okay.
small there, but it's still,
Yeah.
it's still a bigger sign than you're used to looking at as well.
Okay.
Because it's, the total height of it is
Okay.
larger than you're.
A little
used to looking
deceiving
at.
then.
Yeah, because typically, the signs you're looking at are just from the red line up
Mm-hmm.
on that.
Okay. All right.
But
Well,
I will
usually,
I will double check that the lettering is at least the 8 inch.
yeah, they usually notate that so we can see it clearly, so that's why I ask. Other questions, comments? Okay. Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the poles being covered and that being shown on the plan, as well as the landscaping requirements being met.
Okay. And I will double check on the address height.
And the address.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we're moving down now to the landscape plan applications. We have one for Chase Bank located at 11242 Kingston Pike.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, there's a Chase Bank that's proposed, and it's already been through the Planning Commission for site plan at the corner there of Brooklawn and
Kingston
Kingston
Pike,
Pike, yeah.
where the restaurant
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, where the Mexican restaurant was. And, This is the site. This is the trees that are being both preserved and removed from the existing site. And here's the landscape plan. The plan conforms with all of our standards. There's a couple little minor editorial things in the tables that I just need to verify and potentially get corrected, but it's compliant. They have, the right number of trees and everything on the site. And staff can recommend approval of it, just subject to just verifying a couple of items in the table.
Is the plan that's in place here complementary to the plan that's already in place for the rest of that development in the parking area?
To some extent, this piece of property is actually not part of the Biddle
Mhm.
Farm PUD. It's a separate. It's actually part of the larger Kroger development when it was done.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but the architecture on the building is going to fit in with what's going to be around it, and so that it'll be somewhat cohesive.
So Kroger owns that piece of the land?
Well, I don't know if they own it per se, but it was part of that, the
Development.
Kroger was
Whoever owns the
also
Kroger
what's
land.
called a
Yeah.
PCD development, a planned commercial development. So that whole site and this property was part of that larger area that was zoned PCD as part of that development. So it's sort of a little bit of an outlier,
Yeah.
but,
Mhm.
but they did work with the planning commission on getting that building and that site to fit in with what's being done on the Biddle property.
Okay.
I thought we had a moratorium on banks and tire stores.
Yeah. I'll just say that,
They just
this
keep
bank
showing up.
does not look very large, does it? Just my imagination. It's not a large building,
Not at all.
considering the building that was there was probably 2 to 3 times that
Oh,
size.
easily.
Yeah.
Came this way.
Yeah, it turned,
About
yeah.
right there, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, plus it is the patio of the, it's about the size of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, true.
But we probably need another bank.
Apparently we do.
Bring it in there.
Other questions, comments?
Now, we got, that's here, she designed the landscape plan and.
It looks good.
Also works some on the larger site, so if you have any questions, she can answer them.
Okay. To me, it looked like a good plan. Any other comments or questions on it?
No, it looks good.
All right, well, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve approve the plan. I didn't see any subject twos, right?
I think he has some minor,
Just some minor,
yeah.
minor clarifications in the tables, just aligning numbers and that sort of thing.
Subject to the minor details.
all right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. That's it for tonight, unless you have something else we need to cover.
Well, one thing from just to let you know, we're working on revisions to the landscape ordinance.
Okay.
Or the landscape regulations, and it'll have to be done in ordinance form. Hopefully, we'll bring you a draft of that probably in maybe March. Could be February, but more than likely March. We're adding a few new things, or doing some clarification, but a lot of it is just reorganizing.
That's a
Because now it jumps around a little bit. It seems like a lot of people miss some of the standards and the way, like shade trees fit in with the larger developments. That's where they're required and where they're not required. So we're trying to reorganize it and make it flow a little bit better and make it a little easier for people to use. Hopefully there'll be less mistakes. There'll be less people missing items or thinking something's required when it's not, and vice versa, or missing a requirement when it is. So, we'll do it in probably similar fashion to the sign ordinance, where we'll, because it's really being reorganized quite a bit, we'll just delete the existing regulations in their entirety and replace it, with a whole new set of regulations. But I'll have that at some point for you in the next month or two, so we can go through it and just show you what the changes are. But I don't think there'll be a lot of substantive changes. There'll be some clarifications, maybe one or two additions or subtractions of standards, and then, like I said, a lot of reorganization. We're gonna try to add some definitions. It was a little weak on definitions, so we're gonna, try to add some of those. And I know Mark's gonna also work a bit on our approved plant lists. Try to get those a little more up to date. We don't want people planting ash trees anymore. And we're right now, there's a problem in the area. I don't know if you're all aware of crepe myrtles. There's a bark scale that's just wreaking havoc on them. We were alerted to it by an arborist, and we've actually seen some around town since we were alerted to it. If you go over like on the Starbucks site, some of the crepe myrtles on there, like the bark is like jet black, and it's like a sooty mold. And if you look at it real close, there's a lot of like white specks all over it, and it's the bark scale. It's
Are you sure there's not somebody making bourbon over there?
no.
That's what happened to the tree. That's what happens to the trees around the distillery. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No. I'll know what to look for if I'm thirsty. But yeah, so that is a project we're working on, and we wanted to finish up the sign regulations, which, by the way, went through the planning commission. They recommended them to the board of mayor and aldermen, and I think we're going to shoot for first reading and a public hearing at the level of the board of mayor and aldermen for the first meeting in February that they have. So hopefully those will all get readopted. So that's where all those projects stand.
All right.
Okay, that's it for me.
Any questions on all that? All right then, meeting adjourned. See you next month.
What's going in there? Something's going in there yet?
35 more.
My gosh, you read the comments about it?
Oh, you mean when it was open?
They're getting ripped.
Slamming, yeah. Just the business.
I've been trying to stay